Welcome to High-End Homes Handled Right. This is the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Lyndel Johnson. Today, we're going to talk about problems that are happening right now in rental homes, and that's leasing. This week, we've heard on the news about tariffs. There's people that are afraid to lease and afraid to move because they don't know what's happening. They don't know about new prices that may come to them. They don't know if their grocery prices are going to go sky high. They don't know basically if they had security in their job. So there are people that are actually not wanting to move at this point in time. But as I say that, there are people that are still looking for homes. So when you are trying to lease, just because you haven't been able to lease at the rate that you probably did at the past during this time of year doesn't mean that you can't fix the situation. So today's episode is how do you fix it and how do you get that home rented? So your house has been on the market for a long time. Long time could be a week for some, could be 2 weeks for some. Some it's been 3 months, some it's been longer. But if you're a seasoned manager of rentals, you may believe that the April, March going up to the summertime is when rentals, you lease faster. That is the truth, but it is a little bit slower now. So what we do here as a company is we bring it back to basics. When you are renting a home, what do we usually do? We take great photos. We make sure the house is clean. We make sure it smells good. We make sure there's no maintenance issues. We make sure that when a client walks through, or when a prospective tenant walks through the house, they love it, what it looks like. They can imagine themselves in that house, and basically they're gonna love where they live. That is always the goal. You want to get that renter to love that house. You want them to take care of it as if it was their own, and you want them to continue to renew. As long as they're at the market rate. So if your home has been on the market for a long period of time, you're hardly getting showings. What you need to do is, let's look at the pictures first. Let's look at the photos. The photos that you're listing on possibly Zillow or MLS, what do these photos look like? Are they attractive? Does it show really, is the prospective renter able to go through all these photos and imagine living there? That's the first step. Your renter probably is working at 9 to 5. They're tired. They come home and they're probably in their bed and they're looking through photos, imagining themselves in that house. That's how it usually happens. Or maybe they're at work, they're on their lunch break, and they're looking at photos. So those photos need to pop. Those photos need to look good. Those photos are really what's going to get these people to your house for the showing. If you're getting showings and you're going to the house, but they're not putting an application after going to the showing, you need to find out why. Why aren't they deciding that this is going to be the house I want to live in? In order to find out why, you need to reach back out to the agent or reach out to the person who went to the showing and ask them, hey, can you let me know, how did you like the house? What prevented you from actually putting an application? And you need to do this for every person that goes to a showing. Everyone, you need to try to touch every single person, especially if they don't fill in an application. There's always a reason why. Sometimes it's they walked in a house and they don't like the smell of the house, or maybe they walked in the house and pictures, the rooms look bigger and they realize it's smaller. These are things that you can't really change. Yes, you could change the smell of the house. You could put some good things in it, but you can't change the size and dimensions of the house. There's nothing you can do about it. If they're saying, hey, I walked into this house and I noticed that there's holes in the wall, or there's dirt on the floor, or there's just unsightly things in the house. These are things that you need to catch right away, because you don't want to waste time not fixing these problems. And then months go by, you haven't addressed these problems, and you're getting more showings, but you're not getting any leases. You're not getting any applications. Jump on these situations right away. Yes, you should have fixed these problems before you even put the house on the market, but there's a great chance that you missed it. You probably have missed it. And this is the time to find that data, get that information, and fix the problem. Don't wait till you're months down the line and you've noticed that, we're just not leasing. Another thing you may find out that maybe it's your price. Maybe when you priced this property, you were thinking, okay, well, I am paying, as an example, I'm paying $2,500 for my mortgage. I want to rent this house for $3,000. Maybe the market's not the market. Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's only $2,100, or maybe it's $22,000. These are things that you have to think about. So if a lot of people are going to these showings, or maybe a lot of people aren't going to the showings, a big sign of that is really, it could possibly be price. And when you do those surveys after they've gone to the house, and if they say, the price is, it's a beautiful house, I love it, but I'm going to go to another house across the street that's cheaper, just drop the price. What's better, getting nothing in return or getting some money that you can use towards that mortgage? It's a long-term gain. It's a long-term goal. It's a goal. You have to think about holding this house. If you are going to hold this house, what this house can do for you, the value years down the road. You can't get into this thinking that automatically right off the bat, I'm going to make money. That's rare. That's very rare. That's very rare that the rent that you're going to receive from your tenant is more off bat than your mortgage, your taxes, the HOA fee that you pay every year. It's rare that that happens right away. It's a long-term goal. So you have to think of it that way. So if the issue is the price, jump on it, lower the price, let's get it listed, and let's move on. If the tenant is a great tenant, let's renew them. Okay. At that point, you can pull comps and figure out what the market says at that point in time, and maybe increase at that time, especially if they're a great tenant. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to lower the rate. Don't be afraid to make the rent lower than what you're having it right now. Some people ask, Lyndel, what do you use to get a good comp? Two things that I use, and by the way, these two companies, we don't get anything from them, but these are companies that are software that we use that helps us actually figure out what the market is. One of them is Rentometer. With this software, you're able to plug in an address. It gives you homes that are just like that house within a certain miles from your rental house, and it gives you what they think the rent should be. Another company is Rent AI. This company uses AI to help figure out, what that rent should be, and it gives you a percentage of how close they think they're accurate, an accuracy score, basically. So if, for example, let's say this address, you should charge $3,000 a month for rent, and then they'll tell you, we think we're about 90% accurate that this rent amount is the correct comp. You can also go into MLS and try to do it that way also. But these are three tools that we use to get a precise number for our investors, as well as, making sure that we don't go too low or we're not too high past that amount. And once again, a tool that we use also is just your showings. How many people are going to your showings? If you're only getting one a week, you're probably overpriced. You're getting 9, 10, 11 showings in a week. That means you may be a little bit too low. All right. So you really have to just hone in on this. I know you don't want to go another month without having someone renting. Okay. So this is the time. Don't wait till next week. Don't wait till tomorrow. Today. If you're listening to this today and you have not leased your property, do something today. Do not wait till tomorrow. So go back to your list, find out who has gone to any of your showings, contact them today, find out what they liked or what they didn't like, and then let's move forward. And hopefully by next week, we have some applications that we can then screen and figure out what we're going to do with it, if you're going to accept it or not. Let's just bring it back to the basics. Let's make sure everything looks good, make sure the house is great, make sure the pictures look great, and make sure we do all we can to make sure this house is where people want to live. We talked about it. Now you have an incredible renter right now that's about to move into your home. Here are some things that you need to do prior to them moving into the house so that you start managing this property on a good foot. Your renter is about to move in. What are you going to do? Are you just going to let them move in? I hope not. One good thing you can do is make sure when they walk into the house, it smells good and it looks good. So what I recommend is make sure you do a make ready clean or a deep clean before the tenant moves in. You may have done that before you started having showings, but now that you probably had a lot of foot traffic in the house, it's a good idea to go and do another clean before that new renter goes in. What I also love to do is I write handwritten notes. Welcome to your new home. We love having you. If you have any questions, here are the numbers you need to contact. And I like to leave that in the house. We also like to leave a gift. These things, just little things that makes that new resident feel like, hey, this is awesome. this owner or this property management company, they really care, and it's top tier. And that's what you want to do. You want to have that top tier flavor. So we often give maybe a bottle of champagne. We give a fruit basket. We give that handwritten note. Leave that in the house. They feel this warm and they feel great. And so now that they've moved in, you also want to contact them. I would say contact them maybe within the next 48 hours after they move in, and just call them to see, hey, how was your move-in? Answer questions for them. Maybe they don't even know how to pay rent. Maybe they don't know how to request maintenance. And I'm sure your team has probably sent emails in regards to this. When you're moving, you probably have forgotten things, or you haven't had time to look at your email. You're moving from one area or maybe from another city or another state, and you're just exhausted. You haven't had time to look at your email. So that call is a good time to touch base and say, hey, how can I help you? This is how you pay your rent. This is how you request maintenance. If there's anything else you need from us, this is how you request our help. And that's something really good. And a lot of home owners, sometimes they forget that, their renter just not know. They may not know. And it's better to figure that out in the front end than, a month goes by, they're late on their rent, or there's maintenance issues, and they just couldn't figure out who to call. You don't want that to happen. And another thing too, they may have questions in regards to utilities. We actually don't wait till they move in to tell them about utilities. Once their accepted application has been approved, we send an email, or we use a concierge service that we have that sets up the utilities for them. But if you don't have that, make sure you send them a message on who do they call for water, who do they call to turn on the electricity, who do they call for gas, who's the point of contact for the HOA if they need to get maybe pool tags. These are things that, as they're moving in, they should have that. When they also move in, when they open up one of the kitchen cabinets, this is where we like to leave the extra keys, and we like to leave the extra remotes. These are just extra things that we do to make sure that new renter just doesn't have to go and reach back out to us to figure out where these things are or how to get these things. Just do that on the front end and make them happy. Because if they're happy, most likely they're going to want to renew, and they're going to remember how they were treated in the beginning. If they're treated well in the beginning, just make sure you maintain that excellent customer service throughout the whole time they're there. And then when they're about to renew, most likely they're going to renew. So these are steps that you should take during a move-in, and hopefully you have a great renter, and they just love where they live.